In December of 2020, Apple quietly announced the most premium pillar of their wireless listening AirPods lineup, AirPods Max. Coming in at $549 US, these over-the-ear headphones sparked curiosity at just what was it about them that justified that price tag. Similarly spec'd headphones from competitors often range from around $300 to $400 US. AirPods Max have had 15 months on the market to carve their dent, and they're rarely seen at a discount. After spending 3 months with these shiny wireless headphones, this is why, for me, they've become the cherry on top of the cake that is the Apple ecosystem. The design language of the AirPods Max comes across as unique compared to most headphones on the market. Most likely driving up the cost of the Max is the lack of plastic casing. The headphones are stainless steel with a knit mesh canopy and memory foam ear cushions. That's not to say that the AirPods Max are uncomfortable. At first, the additional weight coming in at 13.6 ounces may turn some heads, but within 15 minutes of use, it felt as if the headphones had become weightless. Okay, maybe not entirely weightless, but their initial heft became unnoticeable by me. The design of the knit mesh canopy reminds me of an office chair, but it also is great at distributing the weight for long listening sessions. I felt as if I could go hours without having to take these off from discomfort, and that's something I can't say about many other headphones. Comfort is arguably one of the most essential aspects of wearable devices, and to answer this, yes, the AirPods Max I personally find comfortable. When many of us have adapted to working from home, it became a priority for me to have an audio experience that kept up with a few other vital needs, and these include sound quality, continuity, and accessibility. Now let's talk about sound quality. These are higher-end consumer headphones, not to be mistaken with studio quality headphones. To most ears, these are going to sound great, as they should for the price range. But don't expect self-proclaimed audiophiles to ditch their studio and headphones just for some convenience. I found myself using these headphones in a variety of scenarios beyond streaming music. When communicating with friends over Discord for gaming sessions, they were my headphones of choice. The integrated H1 chip helps to enable an immersive at-home movie watching experience. When viewing video content in 5.1, 7.1, and Dolby Atmos, the AirPods Max uses its built-in accelerometer and gyroscope to exchange motion data with the source device. This results in a watch experience where the audio is anchored in space while actively head tracking the listener. Whether you're watching on an iPad, in bed, or an Apple TV 4K on the couch, Apple's spatial audio gives off the illusion of being in a movie theater from the comfort of anywhere. I'd opt to use the AirPods Max to edit videos in Final Cut Pro. Now, while many reviewers would suggest not doing so because of wireless headphones oftentimes resulting in delayed audio, I personally couldn't notice a difference. This may be due to some Apple Magic optimization specific for macOS, Final Cut Playback, and AirPods, or it could just be my own delusion. Remember that audio quality over Bluetooth will always be inferior to listening over a wire. And still, at the convenience of wireless, it's a trade-off that's worth it in my book. Ever since Apple acquired Beats, it shows that they've invested a ton of R&D into refining their sound, from laptop speakers to AirPods products. As for the AirPods Max, the sound is lifted by what Apple calls adaptive EQ. This is the process of the headphones actively adjusting the low and the mid frequencies based on the fit of the ear cushions. Although I have no issue with EQ of the AirPods, it's unfortunate that users can't manually adjust the sound to their liking, a standard for many alternatives on the market. AirPods Max offer noise canceling that is best in class. Much like their in-ear little brother, AirPods Pro, the Max has a satisfying isolation from the outside noise. It's not 100% soundproof, but I do believe this is intentional.
Keeps my ears warm, but I don't know if I want to walk around with these expensive headphones.
For example, frequencies may sound a little drowned out, but you can certainly notice them, especially when there's no music or maybe just a laid-back podcast playing. On the other side of the spectrum, much like the AirPods Pro, Max gives you the option to switch to transparency mode. Now, based on my experience, Apple also hands down has the best implementation of this type of feature. When transparency is active, you allow for outside sound to process into the headphones, as if you weren't even wearing headphones at all. In fact, once you're used to wearing the AirPods Max, you may even forget that you are wearing them while having a conversation. There's no noticeable delay in the sound around you. Although transparency mode is excellent, as a legally blind user, I want to make it clear that I don't recommend relying on transparency mode as a means to hear traffic or your surroundings when traveling. You're likely not going to hear audio the same or precisely measure the distance of noise. Now, I typically only use AirPods Pro when I go outdoors, and even then, to ensure my safety and self-awareness, I try to just keep one AirPod in my ear and leave my other ear free to listen to the road and help to measure traffic. Let's move on to continuity. AirPods Max will greet you on your iOS or iPadOS device with a prompt to pair. Like other AirPods and modern Beats headphones, these pair across all your devices with your Apple ID and seamlessly switch between these devices. Now, I like this as each device can quickly remember the Max, but there is a specific feature that I just had to turn off, and that's Apple's automatic switching. What in theory is a good idea, and a clever feature, in practice, I personally just found insufferable. For instance, when you're watching a video on your iPad while you're wearing the headphones, suddenly you get a call on your iPhone. And when you answer that call on your iPhone, the AirPods Max will suddenly switch over to the iPhone, pause the video on your iPad, and you're talking on the phone on the AirPods Max with the source device being switched without you having to do any other kind of Bluetooth pairing. Great, it's cool. As I mentioned before, I use these on Discord often for gaming sessions. And what I found was during some downtime, I would oftentimes check my phone, maybe open up TikTok or the YouTube app, maybe even just checking notifications. But because my iPhone was telling the AirPods that, hey, James just opened a media app, it would switch from my Mac that I was still actively listening to and talking in mid-conversation with people to then switching to my iPhone. And suddenly everyone could hear an echo real quick, or it was just kind of a mess, and it got really annoying really fast. Luckily, you can turn automatic switching off, but you have to do it per device in the settings under Bluetooth. So let's talk about accessibility. Although Siri comes with its own slew of problems, I can't deny being a fan of the announced notification features on iPhone. Although dictation may take Siri a few times to get my message quite right, being able to reply with just my voice while my hands are occupied by my white cane and maybe a coffee makes me really appreciate how far we've come with technology. You can always make use of Hey Erie to prompt the fumbling assistant for access to media controls or more, but unlike the other AirPod models that are in-ear, the AirPods Max offer on-device controls. And that's a welcome addition for this visually impaired user. Going back to its design, you'll find a lightning port for charging, something that it manages to do quite quickly. In fact, Apple claims that 5 minutes of charging can provide nearly 1.5 hours of music playback. A positive that I hope doesn't change with future models are these physical controls. You'll find a prominent button on the right earphone that toggles between noise canceling and the transparency mode. What I find most interesting though, is you'll also find a dial button dubbed the digital crown, inspired by the same input control located on the Apple Watch. When rotating this digital crown, it will actually adjust the volume precisely to your liking. What I really appreciate this is the attention to detail when you hear a digital sound like a dial clicking in your ear. It's certainly a neat little touch. Although an equalizer is not available, there is an accessibility feature on the iPhone when using AirPods called headphone accommodations. This is where you can adjust the brightness, vocal tones, and volume to your liking based on your hearing needs for both calls and for media. It's also worth noting that you can turn off features such as head tracking in the accessibility settings. With their 20 hours of battery life, depending on my usage, I could even get 2 to 3 days without charging these. When you take the headphones off your head, not only do they pause your media and disconnect from your last paired device, but they'll go into a power saving state. Initially, this power saving state drained the battery significantly on standby, unless you put the AirPods Max in the dreaded smart case. I suppose I need to at least mention this included accessory. Most have already knocked the design for its appearance, but my biggest gripe with it is just the lack of protection it gives to the AirPods Max. Apple recommends inserting the headphones into their soft silicone case and sealing it with the magnetic flap. This, however, leaves the most vulnerable part of the design exposed. Since the Max can't collapse like many other headphones for easy travel, I would personally recommend finding a third-party alternative that would better protect them in the end. AirPods Max is a pricey pair of consumer headphones. Still, when you factor in integrating convenience, comfort, continuity, accessibility software features, I believe there is value here for a niche user. These have become my default headphones at home, office, and studio. I have only just now started to travel with them, and I'm still hesitant to do so in the future. After a recent trip to Los Angeles, I used these on a plane, and they were great, but I was also very concerned about these getting damaged. If you do decide to get these for air travel, I'm sure the noise canceling will prove to be a comfortable experience in the sky. And just because you own an iPhone and maybe even a Mac, I wouldn't jump to the opportunity to purchase a pair of AirPods Max, even if you see them below MSRP. Consider the competition, and AirPods lineup as a whole. Now, if you do own multiple Apple devices and you switch between them, consume tons of multimedia, and you're not too bothered by the asking price, well, maybe then consider it. I personally held off for some time, and eventually I found myself with a stack of Apple gift cards and a return window. But I didn't intend to love them as much as I do. With how deep into the Apple ecosystem I am, AirPods Max complements how I use each device and proves to be the cherry on top of the ecosystem experience.